This episode is brought to you by the American Red Cross. The start of the new year is one of the most challenging times to collect blood products. Severe winter weather can often lead to widespread blood drive cancellations. But you can be the life-saving difference this January and make an appointment to give now. In the hour it takes to donate blood, you can help save the lives of patients in Denver and across the country. To download the Red Cross Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS to make an appointment. Today on CityCast Denver. At a time when many Coloradans are looking for ways to push back against President Trump, our state's Attorney General, Phil Weiser, is doing just that, filing his 50th lawsuit against the administration. This time, over last week's freeze on federal child care funding. Weiser has also accused Trump of a, quote, revenge campaign against the state for not releasing incarcerated former county clerk Tina Peters. In light of Weiser's latest moves, we're sharing my conversation with him from nearly a year ago when he first announced his run for governor. Today is Monday, January 12th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Attorney General Phil Weiser, welcome back to CityCast Denver.
Bree, it's great to be with you.
I saw you pull a LaCroix Pamplemousse flavor out of your jacket pocket. Are you a grapefruit LaCroix guy?
I am. I've been a fan of grapefruit since I was in high school.
It's a specific flavor.
It is, and it's one that I've become very fond of. And this Pamplemousse LaCroix is definitely my go-to LaCroix. I know a lot of people have a different LaCroix flavor. What's your favorite LaCroix flavor?
I'm really a classic lime or lemon. I mean, I think those are like the three regular ones, but I'm just lemon, lime. Either one I'll do.
Yeah, that's old school. I
don't do like the hibiscus. I don't like the wild ones.
No,
personally.
No. Pamplemousse, 100% my favorite. And I'm not sure what I'd say my second favorite is.
If you know what you like, you know what you like, and you apparently just bring it with you. I love it.
I do.
It was perfect. Well, really, I want to talk to you first. I have a really big question to ask you. Is you're running for governor now?
How about that?
Why do something crazy like that?
My life is truly about how can I serve? When I graduated college, my question is how do I serve? I have a unique family story. I'm a first-generation American. My grandparents and my mom both are Holocaust survivors, were liberated by the U.S. Army, came to the United States as immigrants with absolutely nothing, and were given the opportunity such that in my family, think about this, my mom's born in a concentration camp. One generation later, I get to clerk for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court, work for Barack Obama in the White House, and now serve as Colorado's Attorney General. And in this job, serving has a deep meaning that I didn't realize when I served at the federal level, which is at the state level, I've gotten to know communities. I am in constant dialogue with communities. The San Luis Valley, to take a notable example for me, I go there as a candidate for Attorney General, and I learn about the opioid crisis, something we talked about when I was here before.
Oh, right.
And I didn't start my campaign for AG thinking about the opioid crisis, but after that trip to the Valley, the sheriff, Robert Jackson, he's still sheriff, he told me that in his jail, 90% of people are struggling with opioid addiction. He says, I can't help them. We don't have treatment down here. I said, I want to work on this. I become Attorney General. I bring back around $800 million to Colorado. I set up what is a nationally recognized framework to invest those funds. Last summer, I went back to the San Luis Valley to open up the first drug treatment center in the Valley in generations. That's how I want to serve. So I'm listening to communities. I'm working together to solve problems and delivering results. I've done that as Attorney General on a lot of different fronts. I know we'll get to talk about that. I want to do that as governor.
I love thinking about this from the opioid crisis perspective because I feel like even in Pueblo, they had struggles with even keeping a needle exchange open. Are you willing to keep pushing on things like harm reduction and other things related to the opioid crisis if you are governor? Because I would say it's not a super popular topic as much as it's still a crisis.
Let me offer a few important points. Let me first take this idea that many people may not even know the term, probably your listeners do, but some don't. Harm reduction starts from a very important premise. There are people who are struggling with addiction. Are you going to try to save their lives? That's the way I would put that topic. The number one life-saving step you can take, most people would say this in harm reduction, is to make sure we have Narcan everywhere. Because if you are in an overdose situation and you have access to Narcan, you can live. If there's no Narcan around, there's a great chance you will die. And I've worked hard with the naloxone projects. Many people know Don Stater, who's been an incredible statewide leader. We've taken some of our opioid funds to now dedicate it to provide naloxone everywhere. We've also provided funding that's being used, as you put it, for needle exchange programs, because there we're helping people who might be using to not get infectious diseases. The challenge here is we're a local control state, and we've used these funds in a local control way. 90% of the funds get used at the local and regional level. And so they're making decisions in Pueblo, in the San Luis Valley, in the Western Slope. What priorities do they have? What I've worked hard to do, and it's been powerful, is convene all the regions to give them guidance on best practices. How do we best save lives? And to answer your question, there's no question. Harm reduction is a critical part of that.
So you've worked very closely with our current governor, Jared Polis. Is there anything you would do differently from what Polis has done?
I've gotten this question, and I've offered 3 areas as probably more of an emphasis, but significant. First, I want to talk about water, because as Attorney General, it's one of my responsibilities, and I am deeply concerned that our state has not been as forward-leaning in developing the solutions we need for this time of growing drought. One of the investments we need is in water infrastructure to protect clean water, to protect our ability to manage our water. We didn't use some of the federal funds that came our way to invest in water in the way that I had recommended. I'm going to be focused on water as a critical natural resource challenge of the 21st century. That's going to be top of mind. I want to have a water advisor in the governor's office, and I want to make sure that we're leading on water.
Well, let's talk about that really quick. Do you support Denver Water's expansion of the Gross Reservoir? Because environmentalists are fighting it.
I'm aware of that. I will say this about storage. I've not looked into the particular complaints in that case, but in general, we do need to make sure we have smart storage solutions. The challenge in a more variable world is sometimes we're going to have more water, sometimes we won't. Having abilities to store water is going to become more and more important. How we do it in a smart way that's environmentally sound is going to be case by case. I haven't had direct exposure to that, so I haven't gotten into what the objections are. But broad conceptually, we need more storage for sure. That's part of the solution. We need more conservation too, by the way. We need better technology so that we can better dial up or back. This is going to be true about energy too, particularly as we have more renewable energy. When is there access to water? When's there access to energy? The future is going to be more challenging because of climate change. Water and energy are going to be 2 examples of that.
And you said you had 2 more things you were going to cover as governor.
Number 2 is broadband.
Okay.
I've been working on this issue basically my whole career. When I came out here to apply to be a professor of law and telecommunications at the University of Colorado, I was asked, Phil, you seem to care about people and social justice and civil rights. Why are you concerned about broadband? And my answer at that time was, I'm really worried about us being a society of information haves and information have-nots. This concern has only gotten greater for communities who don't have access to broadband, or where people haven't adopted broadband, or where people can't afford broadband. They're not going to live in the 21st century. They're not going to have the benefits of the 21st century economy. We have now access to funds at the federal level that is an historic opportunity. I want us to make sure that we're fully and effectively taking advantage of this, and that all Coloradans have robust, reliable broadband access and are living in the 21st century. Number 3 is youth mental health. And here's an area that I've worked hard as Attorney General. I'll start with that, and then I'll transition to where I want to go from there. We're suing Meta right now. We're investigating TikTok. There's a woman I've gotten to know named Lori Schott, who lives in Sterling. Her daughter, Anna, was on Instagram and died by suicide. And this is not a story that's unique to Lori. What's unique is how she's been an extraordinary advocate. In fact, the Surgeon General cited her when talking about the need to put warning labels on social media, something I led a bipartisan State AG coalition behind. We're suing Instagram because of the experience of Anna Schott and others. Anna had on her phone things that said, don't talk to your parents about how you're feeling because they'll institutionalize you. Had all sorts of encouragement of self-harm and suicide. If you're a teenage girl, you have twice as much self-harm and suicide content coming your way than others do. The algorithms are trained to engage you, and sometimes the way you engage people is by pulling them down dark holes. You give people these notifications at all hours of the night, all during the school day. You're seeing the impact on mental health. We also sued Juul, who pushed vaping for young people, many of whom were struggling with their mental health. We've held them to account. We've changed how they operate, and we got $32 million. And what we're doing with that $32 million is supporting school community partnerships. If kids have multiple people who they know and trust and who they know care about them, they're going to live happier, healthier lives. And so we're now, literally it's due any day now, going to review grant proposals that will be about these school community partnerships. We're giving out $20 million just for this. And what we want to see is building relationship skills, building resilience skills for young people. This grant proposal, we're not going to have enough money to do all the work we need. And we're only getting proposals from some leading edge places that see the school as a hub to help elevate mental health for young people. We need to lift up youth across our state. I want to do that as Attorney General. And related to this, I want to create a youth service program. So you can graduate high school or college and spend some time going to different parts of the state, the Western Slopes, the Eastern Plains, or the San Luis Valley, serving in teaching, in law enforcement, nursing, or more. It's going to be a win-win. It'll help people find a calling, find purpose, build their relationship skills. And in many communities, they desperately need the help. It's something that I'm excited to do. I believe we're at a critical moment for young people, and I want to be a governor who supports them.
Would you support a ban on cell phones in schools? I know that's been a very controversial topic, I think, with the release of that book, and I wonder where you stand with that.
I believe Colorado should adopt the following state policy. Every single jurisdiction, every single school district has to have a policy that prevents smartphones from interfering with learning. Now, there are different types of ways to do that. I don't generally love one-size-fits-all solutions, but I do want to tell you about District 51 in Grand Junction, where I was recently blown away by the parents, by the students, and the teachers. The teachers said, I'm not fighting anymore to control my classroom. Students are paying attention. The students said, we're not having drama going on all during the school day because people are putting things on social media about one another. That policy is a flat ban up to 8th grade. In high school, you can have it during breaks. It can be in your locker. It can be off in your backpack, or you can put it in pouches. And they said they've seen a transformation because of it. So I do believe, unfortunately, that many schools have yet to face this issue. Most schools don't even have any policy at all on this. And what they've done at D51 demands attention. I want schools to think about this and to be proactive because it's a big deal. You also mentioned flavored tobacco, Juul. That's been a big debate here in Denver, and it looks like the mayor is going to ban it. Would you support a statewide ban on flavored tobacco? Yes, I've pushed for this. The flavored vaping is part of how young people are getting hooked into this. And what Juul did was so disgusting because they had these flavored vapes and they had a whole social media campaign targeted at young people saying it's cool to Juul. That was their catchphrase. We have changed how they operate, but unfortunately the damage has been done, and this vaping epidemic is still with us. In Colorado, when I sued Juul, we were the top state in the nation for teenage vaping. We had to figure out how to use the money that we got from the settlement, and after consulting with community members, we weren't going to put it into like surveillance. Some of the money being used by the state, they're basically surveilling all the kids in school, trying to catch them vaping and punish them. They said, no, please don't do that. Put this into prevention, awareness, and helping young people build better mental health so they don't turn to vaping. This episode is brought to you by Denver Health. As the backbone of this city for 165 years, they are Denver's most trusted. Denver Health is more than a hospital, more than a doctor, more than a treatment. They are a community. Denver Health is your neighbor, your champion. They offer emergency care, urgent care, and primary care, as well as healthcare in more than 130 other specialties. Most major insurance types are accepted. Oh, and did you know this summer, Denver Health is bringing care closer to home with the opening of the Denver Health Southeast Medical Center at the corner of Evans and Monaco. Serving adult patients, this new clinic will feature adult primary care and specialty care services. Denver Health, with you for life's journey. To find trusted healthcare near you, visit denverhealth.org/citycast for more information. That's denverhealth.org/citycast.
did you know CityCast Denver has a perks program? Every week, we're highlighting some standout deals from our favorite businesses in town to help you support local and save some money. It's a win-win. Here are some highlights from this week. Check out Meow Wolf's Adultiverse Space Rodeo on January 17th and experience the worlds of Meow Wolf Denver, transformed into a 21 and up psychedelic party. Saddle up for an intergalactic adventure. Just use code GIDDYUP for $4.20 off an Adultiverse ticket. Offer available for redemption now through January 17th. Or what about Topo Designs? Just visit a Topo Designs retail store and mention this ad to receive 20% off your purchase. Some exclusions apply. Valid until February 1st. Looking for some fun? Check out Green Door and pre-order a curated cannabis box for your Denver trip. Includes edibles, snacks, and local accessories. Ready for pickup near your stay. No stress, no lines, just a better trip. Use code DenverPerk for $10 off any experience box. To see a full list of participating businesses, just visit denver.citycast.fm/perks. It's a great way to check out new restaurants, shops, and events in the Mile High City without breaking your budget. And I love that for you. So Polis just had his State of the State address, and I think part of this conversation that's come out of it is the way that he's approaching Trump and trying to find common ground. He just said in his speech that he agrees with Trump's proposal to deport, quote, dangerous criminals. Do you think that's the right way to go about it?
That is the law. The law is if you're a criminal and you're convicted, you lose your eligibility to be here, period. And I am for deporting. In some cases, and I don't know the details of this, you may actually want someone to serve a sentence here, even though you could deport them. So dangerous criminals who have been convicted have no right to be here. Full stop. That's the law. I support enforcing it. I also believe that a lot of people were here, and I thought Governor Polis did a nice job honoring this, who are parents for citizens, who are dreamers, who are productive, law-abiding members of our community. What really scares me about what we're about to see is so many people are going to face real concern that their whole life can be upended. And we may see immigrant families not send kids to school, not report crimes to law enforcement, not get health care. And that's bad for Colorado. I very much hope we don't see those scare tactics, but we're getting prepared to protect people in the event we do.
Maybe to drill down a little bit on just Polis's sort of behavior or his posture towards Trump. Is that how you would relate to his administration? Because I think a lot of Democrats were disappointed in his praise for RFK, for example.
I'm not sure that I'm going to be praising RFK. I can say that. I can say that the concept that I would work with the Trump administration is not new to me because I did with the first Trump administration. For example, the head of the Federal Communications Commission had a strong effort to go after robocalls, which are, incredibly annoying. But think about it. They're not as bad as they were 6 years ago.
Totally.
And part of it goes back to the work that I and other state AGs did on a bipartisan basis with the first Trump administration and the Federal Communications Commission. We required companies to adopt technologies that automatically send these robocalls to voicemail, and that we also started going after the intermediaries, companies that are allowing these robocalls to get onto our network. So that was an example of collaboration. I'm good with that. I also would collaborate on antitrust. I sued Google with the first Trump administration. I sued Google with the Biden administration, and I'll be dealing with the remedies with the Trump administration. So there are going to be areas that, yes, I will collaborate. But when it comes to things like immigration, first Trump administration, they tried to tell Colorado, we're not going to give you law enforcement grant funding unless your law enforcement engages in immigration enforcement. In Colorado, we've got a law that's very clear. Law enforcement here does law enforcement. They can't be commandeered or coerced into being immigration officials. I said, we're not going to go along with this. I sued to get the grant funding without restrictions, and we won.
So you've been pretty impactful as Attorney General. You joined the lawsuits that shut down the Kroger-Albertsons merger. You helped shut down Wyatt's Towing and their predatory towing scheme. What are you specifically hoping to go after as governor that you haven't been able to as Attorney General?
I will say there's a lot there. So let me try to play the thread through. When you think about protecting people, there's the reactive or going after bad actors, and there's supporting good actors and good opportunity. And the way I will approach this, both as AG and as governor, is in that frame of mind. So let's talk about the bad actor point. I believe that we can and we should adopt public policies that prevent bad actors from hurting people. I brought a case against another entity that operated a lot in Boulder Four-star realty was what it was called. And if you were a Boulder student, you might have rented an apartment and you might have had the following thing happen, which is getting charged a moving out fee when you're moving out. And if you were lucky, you said, wait a minute, I don't think that was in my lease. And if you were lucky and they charged you for like painting the apartment and didn't give you back your security deposit, you might have said, I don't think that's legal. But you know what? Most people, they don't know that. They don't have the time or effort. So they just paid the moving out fee. They had their security deposit held back. And then we told them, guys, you were cheated. Here's your money back. I am worried about these so-called junk fees, where you have either a deceptive fee, which could be like a government mandated fee. Sometimes you see those, except they're not often or always mandated. They're people lying to you. Or a fee that wasn't disclosed that's then thrust upon you at the last minute, like this moving out fee. That's not okay. I support legislation that would clarify and that would have consequences for taking advantage of consumers. So that's an example of something still on my agenda. Social media protecting people. I believe the social media companies have responsibilities for how they have to operate. I want to clarify those responsibilities. I believe in more accountability for those platforms, including pushing out or allowing the fentanyl sales on them. So that's also on my agenda. In terms of opportunities, I'd love to talk a little bit about housing and about affordability, because I'm worried about the scarcity of housing and the way in which certain services, healthcare comes to mind, are priced in such ways that for consumers, it's really hard to make ends meet. In some of these cases, we're going to use innovative solutions to build more housing. In other cases, like healthcare, it's about looking at understanding costs and practices. How can we better protect people? So to answer your question, my agenda is not complete, and there's going to be more of that agenda that gets filled out as I learn more from the people of Colorado. My commitment is to do everything I can, every day I can, to serve the people of Colorado and to be an impactful governor.
So let's talk a little bit more about housing from the renter's perspective. So I know you had a lawsuit against RealPage over their rent-setting algorithm. I know you recently expanded it. What's the latest development on that?
Some people may not even know this, so let me start with the headline. Renters in Denver are paying, because of this RealPage software, $136 a month more than they should be. It's according to a White House analysis of the situation that puts Colorado among the most affected states in the nation. Colorado Springs, by the way, also real challenges. What happens is you're a renter, and the would-be landlord looks on this software program and asks, how much do we charge? That software program is drawing non-public information from the rivals of that corporate landlord. That software program may even say, oh, you have this unused apartment, it's open, but don't sell it at this lower rate. Better keep it unused, keeping inventory off the market with the goal of colluding between corporate landlords, all of whom are using the same software program. If these landlords got together around this table and said, let's all set the prices together for rents, that price fixing would be a clear violation of antitrust law. If those same landlords instead use a software program to accomplish the same end, it's a violation of the antitrust laws. We initially sued RealPage, which is the software company. This week, we added a number of corporate landlords to that lawsuit. Our goal is to stop this abusive predatory practice, to protect renters, and if possible, get them back some of the money they've been cheated.
Do you think that that could help still bring down the overall cost, like tackling RealPage, for instance? But is there anything else? Like, I feel like folks are really, really having a hard time. Like you said, $136 or what? That's a trip to the grocery store. That's a medical bill. That's an electricity bill. That's a lot of money for folks. What else would you do for renters in particular?
I'm going to mention a couple things. So this RealPage collusion effort is one area that we want to help renters. Second, I talked about this before, junk fees, a case that we brought and legislation that we want to see. The way these junk fees have added up costs is in many cases deceptive and preying on people. It's got to stop. When advertisements happen for how much rent is, you got to advertise the actual price. It's not okay to say, oh, you can rent this apartment for $2,000 a month, And then you go in to sign the lease when you're all ready to like move in and you've stopped looking for other places. And they say, oh, by the way, there's this fee, there's that fee, there's this other fee. It's not actually $2,000, it's $2,400. And you're like, what the hell? That's not okay. We got to stop those practices. And I want to lift something up here that sometimes gets lost. There are a lot of landlords out there who are doing it the right way, who are advertising honestly, who aren't using the RealPage software. That's what real fair competition looks like. Part of why it's really important to go after these people who use junk fees or people who use RealPage is because they're competing unfairly. It's not fair to the responsible landlords who are trying to treat their tenants the right way.
So we will have 8 years of a governor who is very much a Boulder guy. We know Polis loves raw milk. He's still holding a grudge about the train that we paid for but never got built. And to me, he kind of never seemed to get Denver. But you're a Denverite. I mean, the Denver Metro is like half of the state. How would you bring some of the focus back to Denver?
It's an interesting question. And I want to start by saying I am a Coloradan through and through. And so my goal is, yes, I love Denver. I love the grittiness of the city. I love the Western Slope. I love the San Luis Valley. I love Sterling. What's part of the challenge is when people ask me, what's your favorite part of Colorado? I honestly feel like you're asking me to pick between my kids. So yes, Denver is the city that I first came to live in 30 years ago. And I'll tell this story because I came from New York where people did not treat each other well. It was a snowstorm in November of 1992. I was here and a Postal Service employee pulled over to the side of the road to ask me if I was lost. And I thought, oh my God, that would never happen in New York. And
New Yorkers are busy.
New Yorkers are busy.
Yes. They want you to get out of the way.
They'll run you over. And what I've experienced from the moment I moved here in Denver is how people treat each other, caring about each other, rooting for one another. And that's the spirit that I really want to bring into our government, that we're all in this together, that we care about each other, that we celebrate each other's successes. Colorado, at our best, is very much all in together. And in harder times, and I worry about this because we're not in the easy times, there are these divides that happen. Even a Boulder-Denver divide. Or
I was going to say the Boulder-Denver divide is real.
It's real. And I, for years, have tried to bridge that divide because I worked as a professor at CU Boulder. So I lived here in Denver. My community's here. And I know Boulder. And as Attorney General, I know Grand Junction, and I know San Luis Valley, and I know Cortez. And so I've worked to bridge divides, and so that's part of what I would do as well.
I'm going to ask you a very serious transit-related question. Last time you were on, we talked about Trader Joe's. I hate their parking lots. Is there anything that you can do about that? Other than tell me to walk? We
were not on the air when we had this conversation, and Lawrence was like, oh my God, that was a great conversation. So I'm going to say, before I answer your question, what's your favorite dessert at Trader Joe's?
Oh, we talked about this because we talked about Hold the Cone.
Hold a Cold. There is not a better dessert out there than Hold the Cone.
I tried a different flavor recently. I think it was it's like cookies and cream or chocolate chip or something.
Chocolate chip. That's my flavor.
It's like chocolate cone.
Yes.
Yes.
Isn't that the best?
Oh, it's the best. It's why I will go to that stupid parking lot to get those snacks.
Yes. So, no, that is not in the jurisdiction. It's either the AG or the governor. I will say that if you haven't tried the Hold a Cone at Trader Joe's, I strongly encourage you to try it. It's really good. I also will say on parking, we've gone after a different company called PRS Services that charge people for parking lots that they didn't use. And if you have been mistreated by them, and it's a good time to promote this, stopfraudcolorado.gov is where you go to complain about those sorts of things. Unfortunately, there are those services that take advantage of people. You mentioned Wyattstown was another example. But Trader Joe's, they're a victim of their success. They're so popular, it's hard to get a spot in the parking lot. And that's because the Trader Joe's Hold the Cones and other desserts are so good.
Well, I owe you a box of them. How's that?
Sounds good.
Well, Attorney General Phil Weiser, thank you so much for joining me.
It's really a pleasure, Bree. Thank you.
Since I had this conversation with AG Weiser almost exactly a year ago, there have been some updates on the issues we discussed. In November, Greystar settled the lawsuit Weiser brought with 8 other states over their use of rent-setting algorithms. The company agreed to pay $7 million and stop using the software. Also, Governor Polis ultimately vetoed a bill that the state legislature passed last year that would have banned the use of rent-setting algorithms altogether. Separately, Denver voters upheld Mayor Johnston's ban on the sale of flavored tobacco products, which went into effect this month, joining other cities like Boulder, Golden, and Aspen. For more on A.G. Weiser's Democratic primary opponent in the 2026 governor's race, check out the link to our episode with Senator Michael Bennet in the show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell Tina Peters about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. And hey, thanks to our new neighbor, Andy C., who just joined our membership program. You can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor today at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See ya!